Global leaders are panicking. Did Trump just confirm Revelation's next event? First, Trump delays the beast system. When Trump became president, he signed a big rule called an executive order. It was named Strengthening American Leadership in Digital Financial Technology. This rule said that U.S. government agencies are not allowed to create, use, or push central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. Why? Because they could hurt the economy, take away people's privacy, and weaken America's freedom. Trump also erased a rule President Biden made back in 2022 called Executive Order 14,067. That rule had asked the government to explore digital money. Trump also erased a plan the Treasury made based on that order. In the Old Testament, God used leaders like Cyrus to help his people and carry out his plans. Isaiah 45:1 says, "Thus saith the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him. And I will loose the loins of kings, to open before him the two-leaved gates, and the gates shall not be shut." Cyrus didn't even know the Lord, but God still used him. Could God be using Trump in the same kind of way? Maybe he's not perfect, but could God be using him to slow down the end times and protect his people? Even with all that Trump is doing, I will give you 4 reasons the Antichrist will rise, despite global resistance. Reason 1. Global instability creates desperation. On September 15, 2008, a big company called Lehman Brothers failed, and in just a few hours, the world's whole money system almost crashed. But what happened next should really wake people up, especially those who know prophecy. World leaders didn't just try to fix their own countries. They called for global answers, global rules, global money systems, and millions of people who had lost their homes, their jobs, and their hope supported those ideas. Here's why this matters. Revelation 13:17 says, "And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." For a long time, people wondered, how could this even happen? How could one man control all the money in the world? But 2008 showed us something important. When people are scared and desperate, they'll say yes to almost anything, even if it means losing their freedom with money. And here's what's happening today that most people don't see. Countries are quickly switching to digital money and cashless payments. Central bank digital currencies, CBDC, are being launched all over the world. But this is just the start. Because when people are poor and afraid, they don't just accept control. They want a strong leader to fix it all. And this leads us to something happening in politics right now that should make every person who studies prophecy pay attention. But before we talk about that, you have to see how the second reason is already changing everything you see and hear. Another reason is mass deception. In 2016, something brand new happened. For the first time ever, lies moved faster than the truth. Social media could spread fake stories to millions of people before anyone had time to check if it was true. But here's what most people missed. This wasn't just about new technology. It was part of prophecy coming true. 2 Thessalonians 2:11 says, "And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie." Look closely. Paul didn't say lies with an S. He said the lie. That means there's one big lie coming that's so strong, so tricky, that even people who know the truth might have a hard time saying no to it. But everything changed on July 16th, 2025. On that day, the U.S. House of Representatives voted on something called the Genius Act. Now listen, our government usually doesn't agree on much. They fight about everything. But this time, they agreed. And how they voted shocked people who study politics. Experts are calling it very strange in history. This seemingly technical legislation might be one of the most prophetically important events in recent history. Here's why. The Genius Act establishes federal regulation of stablecoins, digital currencies that must maintain 100% reserve backing. But buried in the legal framework is something far more significant: the infrastructure for programmable currency that can be monitored and controlled in real time. Remember this moment, because what I'm about to show you next connects directly to the mark of the beast. This legislation represents the merging of global finance with digital identity systems. Every transaction becomes traceable. Every purchase becomes programmable. Every financial decision becomes subject to approval or denial based on compliance with global standards. John wrote, "And power was given him over all kindreds, and tongues, and nations." We're watching this verse fulfill itself through international law and digital infrastructure. The framework isn't coming, it's operational. The question is no longer whether a one-world government will emerge, but how quickly it will assert total control. The final vote, 308 to 122. That's 206 Republicans and 102 Democrats voting the same way. In a government that can't even agree on fixing roads, they suddenly worked together to pass a new law about cryptocurrency. That wasn't normal. It wasn't just a deal. It was like a team effort. July 2025 became what people started calling Crypto Week. In just a few days, 3 big crypto laws were passed: the Genius Act, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, the Clarity Act. This didn't happen by accident. It was clearly a big plan, a setup for how digital money would work in the future. And the way other countries reacted, how fast they responded, should make every American who cares about freedom stop and think. The Genius Act says that all stablecoins, digital money, must be backed 100% by real dollars, like U.S. Treasury bonds. It also says that not just banks, but also credit unions and some other companies can create this digital money. Experts say this will make old-style banking and new crypto work together in a way that feels smooth and perfect. But here's what most Americans don't know. This whole system was built to work with other countries right from the beginning. Because even though Trump banned CBDCs to keep America free, this new system, built by private companies, might end up doing the same thing anyway. Global leaders are acting in unison, like one beast. And I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Revelation 13:1. Have you ever noticed how world leaders today sound like they're reading from the same script? It's not coincidence, it's prophecy. The rise of global unity from chaos. Think back to March 2020. Within weeks, nearly every nation on Earth implemented nearly identical policies. Same solutions. Leaders who had never agreed on anything suddenly spoke in perfect harmony. But that was just the beginning of something much bigger. Since then, we've witnessed an unprecedented level of global coordination. The G20 summits don't just discuss, they decree. The World Economic Forum doesn't just suggest, they orchestrate. Listen to the language they use. Build back better. The Great Reset. Agenda 2030. These aren't just slogans. They're marching orders for a unified global agenda. But here's what they don't want you to realize. The beast's heads and horns, a system of power. When John saw 7 heads and 10 horns, he wasn't describing a literal monster. He was seeing the structure of end times global power. Let me break this down for you. The heads represent regions of power, major geopolitical blocs that would emerge in the last days. Look around today. We have the European Union functioning as a superstate, the African Union pushing for continental unity, BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, forming alternative power structures. North American integration through USMCA. The horns represent individual leaders within these power structures. The crowns represent the authority given to coordinate global policy. And here's the eerie part. It's not coming. It's here. But unified leadership is just the first sign. The third sign reveals something even more disturbing. The actual framework for global control is already being constructed, and it's more advanced than most people realize. Sign 3. A one-world government framework is emerging. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds, and tongues, and nations. Revelation 13:7. The mark itself, a system, not just a symbol. Now, let me clarify something crucial about the mark of the beast. Most people think it's going to be a physical chip or tattoo that appears suddenly one day. But that's missing the deeper truth. The mark isn't just a symbol. It's access to the global economic system. The Greek word for mark is charagma. It refers to an official seal or stamp of approval. In John's day, you needed the emperor's mark to conduct business in the Roman Empire. The mark of the beast is the same concept on a global scale. Without the mark, without compliance with the global system, you're shut out of economic life. No buying, no selling, no traveling, no existing within the system. However, Jesus already stated 5 traits of those that will refuse the mark. Trait number 1, they are watchful. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. Matthew 24:42. The people who refuse the mark are not sleeping through prophecy. They're not distracted by comfort. They are alert. They are paying attention. They understand the times. They don't follow the news. They follow the word. These are people who saw it coming and prepared their hearts in advance. There are more verses in the New Testament commanding believers to watch than to work. God's priority in the end times is your focus, not your busyness. You won't say no to the mark by accident. Only the watchful will be ready. The mark won't come with flashing warnings. It will come with subtle control. Only the watchful will see through it. Trait number 2, they are not deceived. Take heed that no man deceive you. Matthew 24:4. Jesus starts his entire end times teaching with this warning. Why? Because deception is the first tool of the Antichrist. False peace, false unity, false saviors. The people who refuse the mark will not fall for lies, even when they sound beautiful. They test everything by the word. They know truth matters more than comfort. What if the Antichrist looks like a man of peace, and millions of Christians follow him? It will feel safe. It will feel right. But those without discernment will fall headfirst into the lie. If you can't detect deception now, you won't survive the great delusion later. Trait number 3, they endure persecution. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Matthew 24:9. Those who say no to the mark will suffer. They will be targeted, cut off, hunted, betrayed. but they will not back down. They understand what Jesus said, "He that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved." Matthew 24:13. These are not casual believers. They are warriors. They know Jesus is worth more than their comfort. There are more Christian martyrs today than at any other point in history. Trait number 4. They reject the world system. Come out of her, my people. Revelation 18:4. Those who refuse the mark are not attached to the world. They don't idolize success, fame, or comfort. They already let go of the system, so when it turns, they don't bend. They live for a different kingdom. They don't look like the world. They don't think like the world. And they're not shocked when the world turns against them. If the world offers you safety, wealth, and acceptance, would you trade your faith to keep it? It will feel so easy, so tempting. But those who belong to Jesus already counted the cost. You cannot cling to Babylon and stand with Jesus. The system will demand your loyalty or crush you. Trait number 5. They are sealed by God. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Sion, and with him 140 and 4,000. Revelation 14:1. These are not marked by the beast. They are sealed by the Lamb. The mark of the beast is external, visible to the world. The seal of God is internal, visible to heaven. Trait number 6. They hold to the testimony of Jesus. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony. Revelation 12:11. These people don't just believe quietly. They speak boldly. They preach. They confess Jesus, even if it costs them everything. When the world says comply, they say Christ. They refuse to stay silent. Their testimony becomes a sword, and the enemy fears it. Could your testimony stand in court? Would there be enough evidence to prove you follow Jesus? They may be mocked. They may be jailed, but they will not be silenced. The mark will test your loyalty. Your testimony will reveal it. Trait number 7. They love the Lord. And they loved not their lives unto the death. Revelation 12:11. This is the final trait, and the most powerful. They've already surrendered everything: family, freedom, finances, future, because they know Jesus is worth it. History shows that when persecution rises, revival often follows. The blood of the martyrs becomes the seed of the church. The last word from the world will be a threat. The last word from heaven will be, "Well done." The mark of the beast will test what you love most. Only those who already gave it all to Jesus will survive. The mark is coming, the pressure is rising, and God is preparing a people who will not bow. Will you be one of them? The world will offer you survival, but only Jesus can offer you eternity. Choose wisely, because the time is short. If you're a follower of Jesus Christ, everything we've just uncovered should serve as both a warning and a call to action. The book of Revelation doesn't end with the beast's victory. Chapter 14 shows us the 144,000 who refuse the mark, who have the Father's name written in their foreheads instead of the beast's mark in their hands. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Sion, and with him 140 and 4,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. Revelation 14:1. But Revelation also gives us a sobering warning. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, "If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God. Revelation 14:9-10.